Hello, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. I might just check. What a night. We lost power, obviously, and our live stream was, well, we tried, but it didn't go on. Wasn't power that we lost. I'm sorry.
I wasn't looking for shampoo. I was actually looking for pots and pans. When I saw this segment on QVC about the K18...
And, okay, now I know my volume's working. So the internet went down, and when we called up, they said, oh, it's a maintenance issue. So we figured, okay, I'd be on in a few minutes, and it was already really bad because I had to redo a live because something happened, some church music. I don't know what was going on. It was it's just crazy. And so I did another live, just get that live up and running. Went to take 2 ibuprofen, and then I go back to my computer and I see Zoom is closed up, and I'm like, what's going on? Jimmy comes down and says, the internet is out, and I just called up. They said it's maintenance. It was nice of us to tell us about it, but then we see there's trucks all over. There were 2 trucks. I live on a private lake. It's a little road. 2 big trucks and one behind us. So I don't know what was going on. I waited till almost 3 in the morning. Didn't come back on. So I said, what am I going to do? There's nothing I'm going to do. I'm going to go to bed, and I'm going to go in the morning and lead in before the court stuff with this. So we may not have a lot of people here. They might have to watch it because a lot of our people regulars might be asleep. Maybe we'll reach new people. If you are new, my name is Carolyn. This is True Crime Chat with Mommy Ramblings LLC. Welcome. Hi, Heart. And so we're going to talk about what I was going to talk about last night. And then after this, I'm going to cover we're going to watch the live stream of Kouri Richins' Day 3 trial. All right. It made it one word. Oh, okay. It made it one word? Oh, the good morning? No problem. Okay. So let me get to what I had set up for last night, and we'll get started. So there's some new things in Nancy Guthrie's case. Yesterday, Savannah made a video. It's the first time that she said she may already be gone. She may have gone to our Lord. She may have gone home to our Lord, dancing with people she was saying, and then finally dancing with our dad. And let me get here. So today is day 25 of the search for Nancy Guthrie, and Savannah yesterday dropped that $1 million bombshell. Now, we have been talking about it for days. You guys know that. Why hasn't the family offered a reward? Why? Well, they did now. $1 million, right? So yesterday, a lot of people thought, oh, this $1 million is going to break this case. And I said, in a way, I think it would be so hard for the family to live with the fact, let's just say that $1 million reward was put out there. Boom, comes the tip about her mother. But let's say it's like she said, that she might have already gone home. Wouldn't you second guess yourself for the rest of your life that, hey, if I had offered that just a little bit earlier, would things have been different? So in a way, I think if some time passes, that may ease up. You know what I mean? That kind of guilt that we put ourselves through. So anyway, she offered this $1 million reward now, up to. And let's see here now, where were we? She said some interesting things in that video. She said her mother was taken from her bed. So what does that tell us? That tells us that Nancy Guthrie didn't come to the door. That the intruder didn't wait for Nancy to come to the door, that they got into the house, right? They took her from her bed. So, that's interesting. That's interesting. So we've heard something like that before, but it was never from the family. And this was from the family. She was taken from her bed. Okay. We've also heard stuff about that struggle in the foyer that's leaked out with a lamp broken, right? So that leads us to believe, was Nancy fighting the whole way from the bedroom through the foyer? They were trying to take her out of the door. She tried something with the lamp, maybe cut herself then. That's why there's blood inside and outside. Could be, right? So, yeah, there's a shift in this video. Savannah is by herself. Now, that leads people to question, well, where's the brother and the sister? Now, the brother, I believe he lives in Connecticut. Perhaps he had to go back to work. Like I said the other night, not everybody has a luxury. Now, they have a sister who's, what you want to say, loaded. Okay, she, they're in a position that the average person isn't. But there are, most people more than not have to work through tragedies, right? They don't have the luxury of just saying, okay, I'm just going to check out. Because their families depend on them, their jobs depend on them, and they've got to get back to it. There may be something the brother had to get back to in Connecticut. Could they have made a video on Zoom? Of course. They didn't. The last, is it 3 videos Savannah has been alone? I think she did one from Instagram alone. I think she did one outside at a garden alone. And now this one. Okay? So that does leave you to wonder, where is the rest of the family? The second thing is, she mentions her sister in this video, but not her brother. Collectively, the we, would encompass her brother, but she doesn't specifically mention him. She specifically mentions her sister. She says that they still have, hope for a miracle. And I'm paraphrasing now, so I'm not looking at exact words, okay? Pray without ceasing, asking the public to pray without ceasing, thanking the public for the prayers, for people that have been praying, even those that didn't believe, or something to that effect. And then she says, like my sister says, we're blowing on the embers of hope. I think she put that there, okay? To kind of say, oh, I'm still talking to my sister. That's what I think. Because she knows that people are wondering why she's appearing by herself. She didn't say something her brother said, so that, can be up for its own interpretation, and the internet is going to interpret it. Right? Okay. So back to the thing. She may already be gone. She talked about Nancy dancing in heaven with her dad. This tells me the family's starting to prepare for the worst. But she also said, she wants her mother back. In whatever way that is that it'll be a miracle and it'll be a celebration. And, she mentioned a celebration in a previous video, right? So, and then, or, will it be, I don't remember the exact words, but, to lay her to rest, right? Okay. Somebody knows. We are begging you to please come forward now. Now, nothing happened with that yesterday. I don't know. Maybe some tips were called in. Who knows? But I did see something that they said tips have slowed going into I think it was Pima County Sheriff's. And yet then there's been some DNA news, right? Something that the DNA came back and it was to someone that should be in the house. There's someone that, you know, it would be okay that they were in the house. And then something about DNA being too degraded that they might not be able to get a sample from what I'm hearing, but we're going to check that out. Of course, you know, the glove DNA didn't match anyone in the CODIS. And they're talking about this black backpack. They're saying to be on the lookout for the black Ozark hiker backpack, okay? Because that's like one of the biggest clues from the doorbell camera. And again, there's that whole discrepancy because the images weren't time-stamped, but that image of the person without the backpack is allegedly from January 11th, just like that criminal network person that came in here told us, okay? So that's the talk there. Now we're going to go to the latest. Let me go over here. So let's see about the latest on Nancy, and then we'll talk about Kouri, what happened yesterday, and as we go into day 3. Okay, so apparently 750 new tips came in since the $1 million was announced. We still believe, is what she said in there. You know, they still believe in a miracle. So a lot of people are saying they don't understand what some of the media has left. Okay? And like I said, I'm trying to think, was it yesterday or the live streams that are going up, they definitely have less people watching. The creators have mentioned it. They are afraid that it's going into a cold case territory or that people have lost interest because it just seems like nothing's happening. People are spinning their wheels. And there was a report that one of the media outlets, and it was a network outlet, I believe, I don't know if it was one of the Fox outlets or something, had just pulled up stakes and left tents and chairs and things just in front of the house. I don't know if they said to other streamers, hey, you want to use these? We can't take them back. We're flying, yada, 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 right? Okay. But anyway, it does look like less of a presence. Like I said, their creators have mentioned less people watching the live streams. So are people moving on? We know that as general, right? People have short attention spans. This has been almost going on 4 weeks. That's a big attention span for the internet because what is it, normally 15 minutes? So, yeah, you know, so it's like, I think a lot of people were really gripped that something was going to happen. And if something's not going to happen, they're saying, well, what is everybody camped in front of the house then for? What do you think is going to happen there? You think that the perp is going to go and show himself there again or what? So let's bring it back to the house too, because there's some information on signs, okay, that are being put up at the house. So there's no trespassing signs that have been put up at the house, like these. because people were trespassing, okay? And, come on. There we go. So you've got the no trespassing signs that have been put up. And there is also other signs that have been put up, some saying, do the right thing. And another sign to the kidnappers, it's unclear who put it up, but it read in part, to Nancy's kidnapper, unintentional things happen. Life is made up, unintentional things happen, and we get that. Life is made up of choices. Please make the right one now. Do the right thing. Okay, and it's on like an easel. So, yeah, you've got that. And a law enforcement source actually told, this is what I'm saying, this conflicted with Pima County about those photos being taken at a different date. So they said that it appears to have been a different day than the others. But my question with that, and this is my question, and I have not seen anyone ask it. And I'm going to ask it now again, because like High Speed Drifter said, some things that I've said the next day come out of people's mouths, okay? And I didn't listen to a lot of, I don't think I listened to any Nancy Guthrie coverage yesterday. So, I don't know, because I mentioned it the night before. But I said, if those photos came at a different time, and I think the consensus is that that's the case, even though Chris Nanos said that information did not come from the PCS Sheriff's Department or the FBI when that news reached out to him. Let's just say, and he said this, and I'm going to quote the sheriff, "There's no date or timestamp associated with these images. Therefore, any suggestion that the photographs were taken on different days is purely speculative. As with any investigation, conclusions will be guided by verifiable evidence and established facts. Speculation without factual support does not advance the investigative process." And on that note, where's the images from the other cameras? Because why is that taking so long? Or do they not want to release it? But anyway, here's the thing. We looked up, and even without a subscription, those Nest cameras are supposed to alert Nancy, and it will keep a recording for a few hours. So, now the suspicious car, maybe she paid no mind to it, right? Oh, it's a car, whatever. But if they tell you there's a suspicious person, or it's sometimes someone is lingering, right? Whatever. When she looked at that, did she look at that? And how could the person know that she wouldn't have looked at that? And had Nancy looked at that and alerted her daughters, it could have saved her life, right? I mean, it could have saved her from this horrible kidnapping. Because they could have done something. If you saw that image, the one without the backpack with that hood on, outside your door, right? And if it did indeed happen on January 11th, 20 days prior, 21 days, it could have prevented this whole thing, right? So is it that, I mean, listen, I'm the first person to tell you, someone can be texting me, sending me an email. I may not get it for days. I may not get it for weeks. I have so many notifications. You hear my phone is in the charger, ding, all the time. I can't be on that. There are certain things, of course, I know my alarm system, what that makes, okay? But other than that, I have notifications for everything popping up on my phone. And that's why I say, if you're looking for a friend that's one that is like right on the text or right on the cards or that I'm not that person. But if you're looking for a good friend, I'm that person. But I just not text or email, I get to it when I can get to it. So could it have been a situation like that she maybe didn't even have notifications set up or wasn't paying attention to them, or maybe she got a lot of notifications like that and it was an animal, the javelinas or whatever they have there, right? Because you can get lackadaisical like that. Sometimes if your alarms are getting tripped off by wildlife or something, maybe you'll just assume something is wildlife and not take a look at the recording, right? That recorded the event. But I haven't seen anyone mention that, right? That if this is from a different date, what happened to the notification? And why would the police ask for that January 11th? So, yeah, that is something I have a big question on. All right. My watch is dead too. I gotta charge my watch. I'm trying to watch my time here because, hang on a minute. Let me just charge my watch because we have the trial. But hold on, and I want to cover Kouri from yesterday before we go to the trial for today. And this will redirect you to the trial, okay? So just hang on 1 second here. Javelinas. I heard mention of these javelinas, that they're these like little rodents or something, but then somebody said they were pigs, and then I saw some kind of a meme or something, and it was like these tiny little pigs, tiny, like walking by, I don't know if it was Nancy Guthrie's house or it was somebody's house, and I said, oh my gosh, they're so cute, right? And but I don't know if they really are. I don't know if that was a real picture of them or not. Okay, because the things I saw looked really cute. They look like little chihuahuas almost. Okay. Anyway, let's get on to finish this Nancy Guthrie stuff first. Because with the DNA, right? So apparently, from what I saw yesterday, and I did read a little bit yesterday of the updates, but let me see here. Saw something that said the DNA came back with someone that should be at the house, and the other DNA was degraded, and so let's see here. So Geraldo Rivera has commented on Savannah Guthrie and said, Savannah Guthrie issued another deeply painful message begging for information leading to the recovery of her mother, Nancy. Someone knows how to find our mom and bring her home. To the kidnapper, if you have an ounce of decency, give this family back their mother. If not for decency, do it for the $1 million reward for information leading to Nancy's recovery. Well, Geraldo, I don't think the kidnapper themselves is going to get the $1 million reward if they did this, right? But yeah, and everybody wants, is praying for Nancy to come back alive and well, right? As slim as that is. That's what everybody would love to see. see. Trying to see here. I'm trying to go through it. So people are critical on both sides. They're saying it's too late. Some are saying, you know, it's good because maybe you won't get a lot of crazy tips. Others are saying, why? Why so late with the reward? So you know that's the internet, right? You're not going to please everybody, and people are going to make their opinions known. What is this saying? As a journalist, shouldn't you be objectively... Shouldn't you be... I think they mean objective. Shouldn't you... I think they mean shouldn't you objectively be pointing out that she should be thanking everybody for their extraordinary efforts, which no others get? Okay, I don't understand that one. As a journalist, shouldn't you be objectively be pointing out that she should be thanking everybody? So did she not thank everyone in that? For their extraordinary efforts, which no others get. Oh, I think I understand this. This person is saying that, I don't know, did she not thank everyone? Did she not thank anyone in there? I think she thanked for their prayers, right? But they're saying like no other missing person. Oh, she is. There is another thing. She is donating $500,000 that was supposed to be yesterday to the missing and I think it was the Missing and Exploited Children's that fund. I'm maybe not saying it exactly right, but you know the official one there. So that was good, and that's because I think she's been made aware that people are saying, how come other missing people, missing children, are not getting this attention? And is it just your status that makes law enforcement pay attention? And I think that's, sorry, my lips are all chapped. I think that's resonated with a lot of people. Like, is it just because you're a celebrity or, you know, that you're getting this? And why isn't that the same for everyone, right? And why does it seem like you have missing children that people don't even know that are missing or anything? That's what I think she's saying here. So that she should be thanking everybody for their extraordinary efforts, which no others get. That's what I think this person is saying. Okay. Somebody said, what if the suspect is an obsessed psychotic stalker, but not Nancy's, but rather Savannah's, who thought Savannah lived at the residence, wasn't there, and abducted Nancy to use her as a hostage, but they didn't use her as a hostage. Someone said she's in Mexico, obviously being hidden. Yeah, people still believe that. Okay. Let me go back here. A neighbor of Nancy Guthrie says she saw a man who didn't fit in the community walking near the missing woman's home in January, a few weeks before Nancy's suspected abduction. And someone said, why is this neighbor only coming forward now? Why the wait? Someone said we have the most advanced surveillance technology in the history of the world. We can get a terrorist in a cave halfway across the globe, yet we can't find an 84-year-old woman in Arizona. It's been weeks. How does someone just vanish? Well, Adam, how do any of those miss? How does Summer Wells just vanish? How does Sebastian Rogers just vanish? How does Little Monkey, Michael Vaughn vanish? How do any of these kids just vanish? How do any people? What about that other woman, Carolyn, up in Arizona, I think about 4.5 hours away? Just vanish, right? It's hard to believe, but let's see. Someone said, all right, listen to this one now. This is something that I hadn't heard. Okay, this is being reported by Nicholas Burrows. February 25th, 5 o'clock this morning. A 6-year-old boy in Arizona spent his first night away from his parents this month. And it goes on to say, not because it was sleepaway over or away at camp, but it was because people descended on his parents' street. And it says the boy's father, Dominic Evans. Now, if you know that people have tried to put up this man's name over and over and over again. He is allegedly a bandmate of, why do I want to call him Sonny all the time? Tommaso Cioni. And he's also an elementary school teacher. He's a drummer in the band. I don't know if the band is still playing together or that one time they did. And so, because of a 1999 arrest, it says for drunkenly swiping a calculator and watch while at a bar, that was enough to be their prime suspect, right? And it says the accusations were levied online and they've become a real life nightmare. So it says it caused the couple to hide in their bedroom with the lights out. They had their son go to the grandmother's house for fear, for him, and they didn't even want to go pick him up because they thought they'd be followed. See, I didn't know anybody went to this man's house. It said that live streamers and gawkers photographed the family home and knocked on their neighbors' doors. Sheriff Nano said, and I quote in this article, "He's going through hell and it is horrible. And I don't know what to tell him except he probably should be speaking with some attorneys and sue some of these people for libel." He also said, "I wish I could jump out and defend every single one of them that's been falsely accused." Well, can I ask something? If he could say the family's been publicly cleared, why couldn't he do it for this man too? Why couldn't you, Sheriff Nanos? Does anybody understand why he couldn't do that? I don't know. Anyway, That's sad. Let me see. Apparently this is in today's New York Times, I believe. That was just a little bit of it, but you could find it in today's New York Times. Yeah, okay. And Nicholas Burrows put that out. He is an investigative reporter at the New York Times. So is this at the New York Times? Let me see if this is the actual. I'm so skeptical now of everything. Okay, I'm just looking here. See, it says that Mr. Evans spoke to investigators 2 weeks ago for roughly 40 minutes and hasn't heard from them since. And he spoke with his wife, Andrea, in that interview. Let me see here. He said he remembers vividly what he was doing when he learned that something had happened to Nancy. It was the night of February 1st. He said he was putting their 2 younger sons to bed in separate rooms. I guess maybe the 6-year-old is their oldest, and they kept the 2 youngest ones with them, but the little guy probably has to go to school and stuff, right? He said he was going through Instagram, and he saw that, and he texted her husband, it says, and he responded with disbelief. Oh, he said to Annie's husband, telling him he was there to support him, but within days those accusations came and people zeroed in on him, and oh, maybe, I'm sorry. So no, they have they have an older teenager not to come home. I'm so sorry. And then I think it was at that time he was putting the kids to bed. Sorry, so I don't want to give out misinformation. And told their teenager not to come home. And I guess sent the youngest sons to the grandmother's house, but then couldn't go back to get them because people were following them around. I had no idea that was happening. It's terrible. And his wife is a principal in a school district. And she's been, in her words, I quote, scared numb. The address was posted online. It was really, really, really scary. He says in recent days, the accusations against him have eased. He's been able to go back to teaching. I wonder if they what would have helped that if they came out, and sometimes it's, you don't know what to do really. Sometimes it's the unknown that causes people to do that, but if you give it a face, a real face, and he explained, would it have been better? Sometimes it would have been. Sometimes, I don't know, right? Then you could have had, then it's like, it's a double-edged sword, because then people are going to be like, oh no, I think, he looked this way or that way, right? So it's kind of, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. And I did listen to something yesterday. I was emptying the dishwasher, but it was something from a while ago. It was a lawyer. And she said something that, like, well, of course the family, I'm paraphrasing, is going to be looked at because, and you do that. I mean, that is part of the investigation. When somebody goes missing, you do look at the people that were last with her, then family members, because more often than not, right, a wife goes missing, husband goes missing, it is a family member. But sometimes it's not, as we saw in the Heidi Broussard case, right? But you still have to go through that process, right? And that's going to probably pivot us into Kouri Richins. But yeah, that's terrible for those people. Hopefully they can get back to their regular life now, right? Okay. Hi, Margaret. Yeah, I couldn't come on last night. I had my stuff. You have an Amber Alert. Hello, Megan Els, for Jaslyn. Suspect and vehicle found, but she hasn't been. Oh, no. Really? She's 12, or is that... Well, let's put her picture up here. Let's see. Let's see here. 12 years old. An Amber Alert was issued for a 12-year-old girl reported missing since midnight Tuesday, in North Travis County. Let's put this up here. The picture could be any smaller here. Hang on a minute. Let's try to make this a little bit bigger. There we go. So let's see. We have a point of contact, Travis County Sheriff's Office, 512-974-0845. Last seen 1700 block of Wells Branch Parkway, Austin, Texas, at 12 a.m. on February 24th, 2026. She looks so familiar. Her name is Jaslyn Anzora, 12 years old, white, with brown eyes, black hair, 140 pounds, 5'3" tall, female, of course, here. Last seen wearing a red sweater, white long sleeve shirt, Christmas themed pants, and a Nike backpack. Call 911 if seen. Now, let's see what about that. A suspect who authorities believe to be involved in the abduction was identified as 18-year-old, can't speak this morning, Henry Majaya. And they described Henry as 5'9", a white man with black hair and brown eyes. Authorities described the suspect vehicle as a 2017 Ford Mustang with a Texas license plate, and the vehicle has aftermarket chrome wheels and a white logo sticker on the passenger side. Law enforcement officials believe Jaslyn to be in grave or immediate danger. Oh boy, let's hope she's found. Let's hope he just, didn't do anything catastrophic to her and that she'll be found. Just hiding out. Maybe she's just, hopefully, staying somewhere after he turned himself in or whatever. And did he turn himself in, or did they just find him? Where did they find him? They're not really giving a lot of information about that, but hopefully someone sees her as she comes forward and she's okay. And pray for that. So let's go. What time is it now? 9:33. Let's pivot off to Kouri Richins. A lot of you were with us when we watched the trial yesterday, right? And if you missed it, you can catch the live stream here. And I hope that you will watch with us today, because we're going to be watching. We're going to start about 10:20, and it'll bring you right over. So let's see what happened yesterday, because they had a lot of first responders on yesterday, and they had, I know people were hoping for, I was hoping for that her other sister would come on and, oh, what's up, guy? You having a nightmare, kiddo? So, you know what? It's only 19 degrees out. They just came in from running around outside, but I think Scotties are very vocal. That guy, he dreams like that, Jesse. Luke hasn't even left for school yet. He gets to go in late some days because he has a study hall. What's the matter? Come here. Hold on a minute. Let me see here. Leave this. Okay, let me get to Kouri, because I was reading something. What was I reading this? Okay. About this brief, just in case. So, the medical examiner's report concluded that Eric Richins died of a fentanyl overdose, and that his blood contained 5 times the lethal amount of fentanyl, and that the fentanyl in his body was orally ingested, and that the fentanyl was illicit, not pharmaceutical. And Eric Richins had 15 ng/ml in his blood and 20,000 ng/ml in his gastric contents. And deaths caused by fentanyl blood concentrations have been reported as low as 3 ng/ml. In early 2022, before Eric's death, Kouri either called or texted CL, and we're going to see. I believe she's testifying, okay? And it's the housekeeper or somebody that worked for them for a period of time, and she asked her to procure, it says, fentanyl for herself, right? Kouri did. Kouri's phone records established that she called and texted CL several times in January of 2022. The context of the messages were unknown at that time because she deleted all of her text messages from her phone from January 2nd, 2022 until shortly after Eric Richins' death. Now, remember those memes that I showed you? The ones that had the Dumb and Dumber person with the money, and then they had Trump saying, I'm so rich, or something to that effect. Now, again, I don't remember exact words all the time. Not Bobby Brady. I always say that Bobby Brady lived by exact words. I don't. I can paraphrase and tell you what pretty much it was, but I don't have a photographic memory for words. Not like a lot of. Well, I don't know if I should say a lot of sociopaths, psychopaths, but they remember exactly, and just it's like repetitive. Anyway, then the one in the middle was stupid people everywhere or something like that. And that was like hours after her husband died. Hours after her husband died. So anyway, she deleted all that stuff, and CL provided a drug dealer, so it says here, name, and they labeled that contact with acquaintance 2 and acquaintance 1's name so they could remember the connection. CL contacted acquaintance 2 shortly after receiving their contact information from acquaintance 1 and asked to purchase fentanyl. See, I don't understand because they're saying, a lot of people are saying in court that Kouri purchased hydrocodone, not fentanyl. Okay? But it's saying right here they asked to purchase fentanyl. And that CL's phone records established that they texted acquaintance 2 on February 10th, arranging to meet acquaintance 2 to purchase the fentanyl. And then it says they purchased 15 to 30 round light green blue pills. I don't know, is that the color of fentanyl? Or is that something else? Is that hydrocodone? I don't know. Which they understood to be fentanyl. CL's phone records established they called acquaintance 2 several times on February 11th, 2022 between 5:19 and 6:52 p.m. CL informed police that these calls were to coordinate the specific timing of the fentanyl purchase. Acquaintance 2 confirmed that they sold fentanyl pills to a friend of acquaintance 1 on 2 occasions in early 2022 at a Maverick gas station in Draper. CL delivered the pills that they purchased from acquaintance 2 to the defendant. The defendant being Kouri Richins, right? In a hand-to-hand transaction in the driveway of CL's home in Heber City on either February 11th or February 12th. The Kouri Richins informed police that she last saw Eric Richins alive on March 3rd at 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. when he went to sleep in their bedroom, and she went to sleep in one of their son's bedrooms. In Kouri Richins' statements to police, she said that she and Eric Richins had a drink immediately before they went to bed. Now, this gets iffy because we always heard it was Moscow Mule, but now there's something like a shot of lemon drop, and Eric had asked Kouri to go out for celebratory shots, or again, I don't do exact words, they're not in front of me, and she says, oh, I can't. She had something she said tonight. And yeah. Now, again, just so you know, Mormons are not supposed to be consuming alcohol. They're not supposed to be consuming caffeine, among other things. And illicit drugs, also a no-no. So, according to the Kouri, when she and Eric went to bed, their children were the only other people in the home when EMS personnel arrived at the home, which we saw in the body cam on day 1 of the trial, right? We saw that body cam, day 1. The only other people present were Kouri, Eric, and the children. And no one else was in the home from the time they went to bed, according to Kouri, until the time EMS arrived. Kouri had repeatedly and has repeatedly insisted Eric Richins did not use illicit drugs apart from occasional THC gummies. Okay, there, and I read to you the transcript of Detective Woody's interview with her, where she says he doesn't do drugs. He doesn't do drugs. All the children were under the age of 9. And she said also in the body cam transcript, he doesn't He doesn't do drugs. My husband doesn't do drugs. When asked about Eric Richins' illicit drug use in the past year, she said, no, never. She also admitted insistently that Eric had no suicidal history. No, never, no. Photo of the bed where Eric Richins died shows no paraphernalia or illicit substances anywhere around him. The police found no fentanyl anywhere in the home on the night of Eric Richins' death. Kouri Richins informed police that she left her phone in her bedroom, went to sleep in her son's bedroom around 9:30 p.m. She woke up later, returned to her bedroom where she noticed that Eric was not breathing and cold to the touch, and called 911. But then in other reports she says she put a blanket on him, remember, at first? So she was giving inconsistent statements. Cell phone records and the data contradict that narrative. Cell phone records establish that she browsed the internet after 10 p.m. Cell phone data establishes that she unlocked her phone at 3:07 a.m. and she traveled approximately 200 feet before calling 911 at 3:22 a.m. The 14-minute time delay and the travel are both counter to Kouri Richins' narrative, right? And also that she didn't have her phone, or that she went to bed with her child at 9:30 and 9:45 and didn't have her phone because she was searching the internet after 10 p.m. So, I mean, one could argue, if she left her phone in the room, could it have been Eric that was on her phone? You know, you could argue that, right? Defense attorney, I'm sure, will. At that point in the investigation, the content of her text messages from the night Eric Richins died is unknown because the text messages were manually deleted from her phone. The medical examiner's report also contradicts Kouri's narrative. Kouri had recently suggested that Eric ate a THC gummy before going to bed, although at the scene she stated it didn't seem like he did take a gummy, though. The medical examiner's report does not indicate the presence of THC in Eric Richins' body, which I think that stays in you for a while. So if he was regularly taking the gummies, wouldn't he have that in his body? Okay. She informed dispatch and police that she performed CPR on him while awaiting EMS. Foam coming from his mouth, however, indicates that EMS personnel were in fact the first to perform CPR on him. The evidence shows that Kouri did not perform CPR on her husband. She started a small business flipping houses. Started with one house in 2019. She purchased a property in Heber City, Utah. Each year, she purchased more and more houses, which were financed in part by a hard money lender or lenders. By the end of 2021, trust deeds were recorded against Kouri Richins' properties in the amount of $6,260,458. On December 30th of 2021, Kouri Richins' business bank account was overdrawn by $22,520.60. In addition, Kouri was often paying thousands of dollars daily to service her debt. In addition, Kouri's bank records show that she was paying hundreds of dollars a day in overdraft fees. Wow, that's like a hole that you're... It's impossible to drag yourself out of that, right? She was in dire straits. At the end of 2021, her financial problems were dire and desperate. I didn't even see it. Yeah, dire and desperate. By the end of February of 2022, she owed hard money lenders at least $1,847,760. Between March 1st and March 3rd of 2022, the day of Eric Richins' death, She had 7 phone calls with a hard money lender. She informed police that Eric and I did not have financial problems ever. In reality, Kouri Richins' long trail of fraud, theft, forgery, deception, and tax and creditor problems were coming to a head in the days before Eric's death. Before 2022, at least 6 life insurance policies insuring Eric existed. A $1 million policy with his business partner as the beneficiary, a $500,000 policy with New York Life with Eric's living trust as the beneficiary, at least 4 with the defendant as the beneficiary. Okay, one for $250,000, one for $1 million, one for $100,000, and one for $347,000. On January 1st, Kouri, without authorization, changed the beneficiary on the policy insuring Eric Richins' life from the business partner, CW, to herself. In late January 2022, Kouri applied for $100,000 in term life insurance through a credit union and forged Eric Richins' name on the application, his signature. The policy was issued on February 4th, and it listed her as the beneficiary. Before their marriage in 2013, which I showed you, the prenup, right? The parties gave up rights to one another's present or future income, property, or assets, except if Eric died when the two were lawfully married. His partnership interest in the business would transfer to her. On March 19th of 2019, without Eric's knowledge or permission, well, how could he is deceased at that? Oh, in 2019, I'm so sorry. She used a fraudulent power of attorney to execute a $250,000 revolving credit deed of trust on Eric Richins' home, which was the premarital property to which Kouri Richins had no legal right, though I hear her attorneys now saying that because she lived there, she does. She also withdrew the entire $250,000 from the home equity line of credit. Beginning in June of 2019, Kouri began misappropriating monies distributed to Eric's business that were intended for his quarterly tax payments. It sounds like that guy Paul Canero, right? The defendant represented in writing, that's Kouri, to their accountants that these payments had been made to the Internal Revenue Service and the Utah Tax Commission, but, let me guess, they had not? They had not. By the end of February 2022, Eric and the defendant's unpaid federal and state liability exceeded $190,840. On March 2nd, the day before Eric's death, the defendant had an hour and 40-minute call with the IRS. Okay, she's a woman in dire straits, right? Plus, she's having an affair. As of September 2020, Kouri had charged more than $30,000 on Eric Richins' credit without his knowledge or permission. I don't know how he's not seeing that, right? In September of 2020, Eric discovered the home equity line of credit, the unpaid taxes, and it's like he found it, the credit card. Eric then discovered that Kouri withdrew at least $100,000 to which she had no legal right from his bank accounts without his knowledge or his permission. Eric confronted Kouri, and she promised to repay the money. I'm so sorry, honey. Just trying to make a business. Did the best I could. Eric's pre-2020 will made Kouri the beneficiary of his separate property, but in October of 2020, upon learning that Kouri secretly and fraudulently incurred nearly $500,000 of debt in his name, Eric consulted a divorce lawyer and an estate planning lawyer. He made a new estate plan, and he named his sister, Kouri Richins Benson, as trustee over his estate for the primary benefit of his 3 minor children. On March 5th, 2022, Kouri signed a $2.6 million trust deed, a $420,000 trust deed, and a $150,000 trust deed. These 3 deeds have an effective date of March 4th, 2022. Thereby, she closed on the purchase of that 106 North Legacy, that mansion I showed you yesterday, right? She didn't know that Eric had removed her as the beneficiary of his will. And on the morning of March 6th, this is now after his death, okay? Between 24 and 72 hours after Eric's death, Kouri arranged for a locksmith to drill Eric's safe. We saw that safe in the pictures yesterday, right? Now, Eric's sister, the other sister, Amy Richins, saw the locksmith. And it's amazing that she saw the locksmith, right? Sometimes people are in the right place at the right time. And followed him to Eric Richins' house. Amy then informed Kouri that she does not have authority to enter that safe without permission of her sister-in-law, Kouri Richins Benson. Now, Kouri didn't take this too well. Kouri punched Amy Richins in the neck and in the face. And I went over that document about the assault, right? When sheriff's deputies responded, estate planning attorney Crystal Bowman Carter was called. And she arrived at the scene and explained, I'm sorry. She was called from the scene, and she explained to Kouri via the phone that there is, in fact, a trust, and that, Kouri, you're not the trustee, and you're not the majority beneficiary. And Kouri's reaction was described as disbelief and anger, stating, and I quote, "I can't believe you people. How can you do this? This is my house." To which Crystal Bowman Carter replied, "It is not your house." At the time of Eric Richins' death, his estate was worth $5,101,134.35. Defendant's internet searches indicated conscious guilt and a plan to hide the evidence, and we went over these yesterday. So, I'm just got to keep watching my time. Okay. They discovered incriminating internet searches on an iPhone that was found in Kouri Richins' dresser drawer on the side of her bed, the second search of the home. And they were bringing out that evidence yesterday in court, right? We saw that the woman cutting and taking the stuff out, sometimes with gloves, sometimes not with gloves. And okay. Some of the internet searches that Kouri Richins performed on her phone, on her second iPhone, include, can you delete everything on an iCloud account? Can you delete everything off an old iPhone without actually having it? Can you change the password remotely of a lost cell phone? Can you delete text messages? can deleted text messages be retrieved from an iPhone? What do cops, when they, it's not written correctly, okay, what do cops when they seize she didn't even spell it electronics right, she put electobics. What information can be obtained from a cell phone? Woman, Utah prison. Can cops uncover deleted messages iPhone? How to unlock my iCloud? How to erase a phone data permanently with EMI number? How to permanently delete information from an iPhone remotely? Can cops force you to do a lie detector test? What are you allowed inside Utah jails? Death certificate says pending. Will life insurance still pay? Luxury prisons for the rich in America. If someone is poisoned, what does it go down on the death certificate as? This is why I don't know why this trial is going to last 5 weeks, right? It seems like pretty cut and dry. FBI analysis of electronics in an investigation. Can FBI find deleted messages? Can the cause of death be changed on a death certificate? When does the FBI get involved in a case? How long does life insurance companies take to pay? What is the lethal dose of fentanyl? In the internet searches, Kouri demonstrates an interest in deleting information from her electronic devices and cloud-based accounts, likely in an effort to impede the police in the investigation into her husband's death. She was aware that many of her personal electronic devices were already seized by police, and she appears to be researching how to remotely delete that information. Furthermore, Kouri searches show concern about whether law enforcement can find deleted messages and whether they can force the administration of a lie detector test. Notably, she also searched the home address, listen to this one, of the first lead detective associated with the case and contact information for a relative of the second lead detective. Most telling among the searches are her queries about how a death caused by poisoning is categorized on a death certificate and what constitutes a lethal dose of fentanyl. In the weeks immediately following Eric's death, she bought illicit fentanyl. She received the drug hand to hand from a witness, and she forged Eric's name on a life insurance policy. At the same time, pressure was mounting on her from numerous debts, tax liabilities, and real property transactions. Now, testimony from Brooke Carrington said that Kouri stated she had a drink with Eric around 9:15 and they went to bed in separate rooms within the house. At 3:20 a.m., he was dead from a fentanyl overdose. Kouri admits Eric had no suicidal history and did not use illicit drugs. In conclusion, substantial evidence supports the aggravated murder charge against Kouri Richins. Your sandwiches are over there. Right there. When the people of Utah, they declared their rights here, so the operative words, let me see. Oh, boy, I love you. Be careful. Where's your, hold on a minute. Where's your jacket and stuff?
I don't need a jacket. I got jackets in the car.
In the car?
I got 3 of them.
Be careful driving. Love you. That's all you need?
Yeah.
All right, love you. Bye. Okay. Back. So let's see here. So what did we see in court yesterday? In court yesterday, like I said, they had Ramos, which I think they're definitely watching the internet. They're going to Reddit threads, probably going to YouTube, and Ramos seemed to tone it down a little bit, right? With the correct. Okay. But he still treated that Deputy Wynn, who looks like a little boy, it seemed to me, it just kept looking to me like the headmaster with the little boy that didn't do his homework, constantly showing him and, well, can you read sound that out now? That's what it seemed like. Okay, well, read it to yourself now, okay? So, but for a long time he hammered him about things. And what they're trying to do, I think it's obvious, is show shoddy police work, okay? That they didn't test the Moscow Mule cups that were in the sink. They didn't test any of that, and the housekeeper came and put the stuff through the dishwasher the next day. And that, that they didn't secure things, they didn't look for that the shoddy police work is what I think the agenda of the defense is going on this case. Now, the other thing is, with the first day, and what makes people, I think, feel a little bit iffy with Eric's sister, some people are, and some people get this way, okay? Some people have problems with their sister-in-laws and stuff like that, and it causes them to, or in-laws in general, right? Some people, right? And they may feel that his sister was overly involved in his life, okay? But, I mean, that's his relationship. She says they were always inseparable. They were 2 years apart. And so I know people in my own chat were saying, oh my gosh, he spoke to her about his sex life. But there are brothers and sisters that do that. And more so in younger generations. So sometimes people that were saying it in my chat, maybe I'm just guessing, might have been in their 50s, 60s or something. And maybe it wasn't that common. But younger siblings do talk about stuff like that. So, I don't find that all that crazy, okay? Especially if he was going through this stuff from 2020 where Kouri was doing all of this financial infidelity, because that's what it is, let's face it, it's financial infidelity, to Eric, then he might have confided in her a lot, right? We also know that he was taking testosterone. He was injecting that. That came in the medical examiner. Anyway, I just find that she really hurt her credibility because she lied when she testified. She said that when she went to the house, I believe she said Kouri was standing on the stairs or something, and just like shook her head. And she said she was all, and again, these are not exact words, so I paraphrase, dolled up, or the sister was describing herself as looking very disheveled, but she said that Kouri was in a tracksuit. It was pajamas. It was like fleece pajamas. And that she did have her hair done up, but apparently I've been schooled that people sleep like that. And she said that, Kouri didn't console her at all. Then let's play the videotape. And it showed her that she was like sitting on the floor with her, hugging her and stuff. So that hurt the sister's credibility for me, especially if I was a juror. I have to weigh the testimony, right? That's what you do as a juror. You weigh the testimony on whether you believe the person testifying is truthful. And that would go down as not truthful, okay? And it would change a lot of things with her testimony for me. So I think she hurt the case. But I think there is enough on Kouri that, regardless of the sister's actions and what she's doing, I don't think she had any part in the murder of her brother. Okay, she didn't tell the truth, but is it really anything in the big picture here? It's not. The big picture here, I think Kouri's guilty, and I don't think they're going to have any problem proving that. But that's what I mean. There was no reason for her to lie. It was like she was purposefully seeming, this is my opinion again, and if I was a juror, I would say, I think she was like purposely tipping the scales to make Kouri look bad when she doesn't have to do that. Okay, in fact, what she did by lying on the stand affected her credibility. So then I got that in my head when I'm watching the body cam of the sister, right? And so now I'm watching through the scope of that she seems a little sus. Okay? So when she came in, very quickly, and I don't think that I never even saw them tell them he was deceased. Okay? They were doing these life-saving measures, and at one point, Kouri says something to, I think it was Deputy Wynn, about what was going on. He said, well, they're working on it, and we'll get to that. He didn't say that he was deceased. And I never saw the actual moment where they said that, so that when the sister was called that he wasn't breathing, well, EMS was still in that room doing these compressions with this Lucas machine, which the defense attorney found is very cool. And I am going to have to get going here. So, but this is the first 2 days of the trial, right? So then I just thought it was weird that the sister went outside and told one of the deputies, I'm his sister, I'm his everything, I'm his trustee, I'm this and that. Yes, you could say maybe with what, she probably knew from 2020 when Kouri was doing all this financial infidelity to Eric, that maybe she suspected something, but it still seemed an inappropriate time to tell the deputy this, but we don't know. But the thing that got me is when she was telling him, she was hyperventilating, and then her husband came with two little girls, and she, just listen to it yourself on the body cam, she completely stops and says, take them upstairs, and then goes back to that, and then comes in and collapses on the floor. So I don't know. I'm looking at the scope that she lied. See, it's very damaging, and she didn't need to lie about that. She could have said, Kouri hugged me. I don't think it would have anybody thinking that Kouri didn't do this to her husband. I think there's plenty of evidence to show that. What's the matter, baby? Come here. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. So yesterday it was, hammering the rest of Deputy Wynn, kind of showing that he didn't do maybe all the things that he should have done. And then a few other officers, the same kind of thing. Did they ask this? Did they ask that? Did they, do this? Did they do that? So that's where that was going mostly. Then you had the medical examiner. You had the crime scene technicians on. They were talking about, they were taking us through the house with this, this video. You can see it on my live coverage from yesterday. And then showing where they found things, and they went through pill bottles they found, and the search for the gummies, and they found some gummies, and but then again, he didn't have THC in his system, so but that was mostly what yesterday was about. We had hoped to see some friends. I had hoped to see the other sister, which. Let me just go right away before we go to the trial, because we are getting towards that time. We've got it's 12. I've got 8 minutes. Okay, I can't believe how fast the time goes. State's witnesses and exhibit list: Detective Jeff O'Driscoll, Brooke Carrington, forensic accountant expert. Chris Kotrodimos, digital forensic expert. Let's see. I've got a one dream in here. Lulu, come here, baby. Crime scene body cam, we saw that. Medical examiner's report, we saw that yesterday. Defendant's written statement. Detective Woody audio recording. I don't believe they played that, but that's the one that I went over the transcript with you. Crime scene photos. You saw that yesterday going through there. There's probably even more. Declaration of Brian Freckleton. Intake worksheet with KBC notes redacted. Premarital agreement. We went over that. Eric Richins Living Trust. Declaration of Crystal Bowman Carter. That's the woman about the safe we just read about, right? The life insurance policies. They have those. The power of attorneys, version 1 and 2. Initial report of Matt Throckmorton, and we heard some stuff about Matt through, I believe it was the sister, right? Exhibits to the initial report of Matt Throckmorton, revolving credit deed of trust, petition to determine disqualifying homicide, Kotrodimos PowerPoint, check and deposits, state of Utah court brief. Okay, so, yeah, and I know that I had the, hang on here. See if I can get this in before it's time to go, before I go grab my puppy. Okay, let's see if I can get this here, because I know I have it. And the other thing I wanted to go over real quick, I can't believe my time, I get going on stuff, and it is the case, but how come I can't find my... All right, let me go. So they were the lead crime scene detective yesterday, technician, sorry, Chelsea Gibson. She showed a 3D rendering of the Richins home, and that's what I'm talking about on that on the trial yesterday that went over there. And after showing that, she went room to room, and she described where certain evidence was found, right? The jury saw that video screen of the house. She also took photographs of the master bedroom and the bathroom where Eric Richins died, shown to the jury. And Deputy Wynn was there, and then the medical examiners, Maggie Mobley, Dr. Pan Ulmer, Allison Christensen. They were involved in all steps of the process to retrieve and perform an autopsy on Eric Richins' body. Ulmer testified that her autopsy did reveal the presence of fentanyl, and there was also ethanol and quetiapine in his stomach contents. The ethanol could indicate he drank alcohol or could mean from the decomposition of the stomach contents. Okay, and I think we went through that. So let me just see if I can get this witness list before we... go away because I know that I had it over here. Where are you? Where the heck? Probably find it the minute I had my file. I thought I had everything downloaded into it, but there is there's quite a few witnesses scheduled. So let me just check one more thing. What time is it? Oh, I've got to go. I've got to go. I'll find it, and when I find it, I'll just come on during the break of the trial. There'll be breaks, and we'll go through it then. I don't want to miss the thing. Okay, so I am going to let you go from here. It's gonna redirect you over to the trial. Hi, Jen Grill and everybody. It's gonna redirect you over there. Hi, Hammerhatch. Sorry that I wasn't able to pay attention. Hello, Jerry K and everybody. But we're gonna go over to the trial now, okay? So it's going to redirect you. I'll see you over there. Love you guys. Thanks.